Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rockfin, Rumble, or Band.video, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks so much. We appreciate it. I know you've got like a million options out there. So the fact that you decided to spend some time with me is greatly appreciated. Have you rated the show? If you haven't, please consider giving us 5 stars. If you think we've earned it, we appreciate it. The algorithm matters, I guess. Hey, the audiobook for The Octopus of Global Control is now available. I know it only took 7 years for it to come out. I get it. Better late than never. But it's out. It's available. It's wherever you get audiobooks. Spotify and their network of companies has it. Amazon, iTunes, Audible. It's all there. It's all happening, as Alex Jones would say. Big thanks to Graham and Darren from Grimerica and adultbrain.ca. They are the voices of The Octopus of Global Control. So if it's a book that you've always thought you wanted to read, but the 540 pages kind of scared you off, well then guess what? I've got 23 hours of a sweet Canadian accent headed your way to give you all that information in a way that's easy to digest, and you can listen to it while you're driving around in your car, or getting on an airplane, or going to the gym, or whatever. So please consider checking it out. Hey, big thanks to our sponsors. They make this show happen. EMP Shield is going to protect you from what's coming our way. I mean, I hope it's not coming our way, but it could. It works on your home, car, motorhome, boat, generators if you've got them. And this is a device that'll protect against EMPs. It'll protect against solar flares. It will protect against lightning strikes. These things happen. Some of them are made to happen. Some of them are natural. So if you're in a position where you think that you have access, I mean, I lived outside of Tampa for a summer, and they don't call that hockey team the Tampa Bay Lightning for nothing, right? So if you're in the Central Florida area, you might want to go to empshield.com and read up about it. And if you find something you like, the discount code on your way out is MACRO. That'll save you a little bit of money. What'll also save you money is if you bundle a couple of them together and get one for your home and your car at the same time. It'll bring the dollar per unit price down quite a bit. You can install it yourself. They have installation videos online on their website. You can do it. You can have an electrician come out and installs like a type 2 surge protector with just 4 wires. So it's relatively easy to put together, but that's the ultimate in being proactive, man. If you've got one of these installed, you're going to be, you'll be driving your fancy car around while everybody else is flintstoning it to and from what's left of society. EMPshield.com. Discount code Macro. Also, sticking with the theme of shielding, we'll go talk about those nice people over at Legal Shield that have been doing this for half a century in the United States and Canada. They get you access to an attorney in your area for $1 a day, $30 a month. That's it. It really is about the most affordable thing out there. They have a great system. You'll get an app on your phone, and whatever you need to do, you just pull up that app and let a lawyer in your area know, hey, I need these documents. There's a drop-down menu. You tell them exactly what you're looking for, and they'll set it up. So someone will call you in 24 hours to set that appointment for you, and then you come on in, and we'll just take care of all that. So if you don't have a last will and testament, if you don't have a medical power of attorney, financial directive, all that stuff, all those things that you need if you pass away and the state gets involved in your affairs, look, you got to get it done. You just have to. You're an adult now, for God's sake, so you can't hide from this stuff. You don't want to spend $3,000 to have your entire family come in and sit down and go over your will at some law firm and freak everybody out. But you can do this through Legal Shield really easily. You can do it in the first month. You can knock it out for the first $30 payment that you make. And I advise you to do it, because if you do, you'll understand the power of this service, and it'll pay itself off for the next couple of years. So it's something to consider. They built a website specifically for us. You can go check it out. There's no hard sell here. Just check out the website. See if you think it's a good fit. I've got it. Everyone I know's got it. But if you're interested, go to don'tgetpushedaround.com. The link is down in the description, www.don'tgetpushedaround.com. Or all of these sponsors are also available at my website, macroaggressions.io. If you find that, all the links are in the description. You can go to my website and you'll find a partners page. And in that partners page, you can get to all these people too. So if you're driving around, you go, who's he talking about? He was talking about something. I can't remember what it was. Just go to the website. You'll find it all there. It's available. Well, I'll tell you, this is going to be like my sort of state of the nation on the state of the nation. And it ain't great. It's just not great. Okay. I mean, there's no way I can sugarcoat this. It is a disaster out there. And it's not like I'm surprised that it's a disaster. Kind of knew it was coming. It's just, you don't really know what flavor it's going to taste like. I mean, with Biden, it's going to be chocolate chip, right? So that's probably going to be the flavor of the insanity, but it's terrible. It's, his ice cream has been left out in the sun. It's melting. It's filled with bugs. It's terrible, but it's fixable. I guess that's the good news about this whole thing, is that the problems that we are facing are problems that are self-imposed. And you can make a decision if you got the right people in a position of power. You can make a decision to do things differently, and there, as a result, a lot of these problems would go away. You'd still have to spend plenty of time fixing what the last couple of guys that have been presidents have done to this country, but it's fixable in some regard. But listen, let's just be honest. America is a fucking embarrassment these days. It just is. And I wish I didn't have that assessment. I'm an American. I take no pleasure in that. I'm not cheerleading for the destruction of America. It doesn't matter what I want. I'm watching it happen. I'm watching the end of empire. We all are. We're living through it. You read the history books and you watch how all these empires come and go, and you think, oh, well, that would never happen to us. Or surely these people would have seen it coming and they would have gotten out of the way. You can't watch what happened in Rome and think, oh, everything looked great up until the very last minute, and then it all magically fell apart for some reason. No, it's gradual. It's slowly and then all at once, as they say about going broke. And that's where this is. And it's a variety of factors too. It's like getting hit from every single direction. This is a beating that America is taking financially, socially. Our relationship militarily with countries everything is unraveling. And I don't want to get too, I'll do it the way I normally do it, which is with statistics, numbers, probably a shitty attitude about it all, I'm sure, just sort of an exasperated tone of voice, because that's how I feel. That's how we all feel. We take a look around and I don't know what's more frustrating, the state of the United States right now, or the people that are standing next to you looking at it and not able to see it. that it's been so gradual that they go, oh, it's always been like this in San Francisco. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't been like that at all. This has been gradual. And I regret to report that we have become a deeply unserious nation. We are. I mean, if you turn on the television and you look at what the politicians are talking about, the things that they're worried about, we're focused on nonsense, like gender, at the expense of serious issues, like oh, I don't know, the number of businesses that went under during COVID. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because this is a good barometer, a good benchmark for when things started. Things started the summer of 2020 during COVID, when they started making some really bad decisions that went against the people. Now, let me be crystal clear about this. I'm not saying that America had its shit together before 2020. It most certainly did not. But there's an acceleration towards catastrophe. There's there's a reason why Berwick and I didn't finish controlled demolition until after all the COVID protocols had been rolled out, because we needed to see what that looked like before we put that in the books, because you knew it was going to be stupid and a massive government overreach. You knew it would be mismanaged. You knew a lot of people would be hurt by it. And you also knew that several small, very powerful, connected industries, companies, people were going to become extremely rich as a result. And of course, all that stuff happened. And that wasn't even like you had to, you didn't have to like have a background in this to understand how things were going to turn out. You just had to have a functioning brain that wasn't captured by CNN. You then could take a look and go, this is going to end poorly. The thing is that you just didn't know exactly how poorly. Well, now we're able to look back on a lot of these decisions that were rolled out and bring some statistics to the table to measure just exactly how what a catastrophe this was, because it's not just that they destroyed the economy. They obviously did that. We're going to talk about that. They destroyed something that is impossible to quantify. They destroyed your desire to want to contribute to society. I've never felt more disconnected from the general public than I feel now. I don't have a whole lot in common with them. I don't my life has changed considerably since COVID. I think a lot of people's have. And one of the major parts in which places where I've gone now mentally is that I have lost respect for most people. That's just the truth. And I know it sounds bad, and I know it maybe even sounds like a little bit arrogant or whatever, but I don't care. I don't care. If you wore a mask in your car, or you stood on a dot, or you went one direction down a grocery store aisle because duct tape on the floor told you to, I have no respect for you at all. I'm not interested in your opinion. I don't care what you think. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what God you worship. I don't give a shit. If you did all those things, you are part of the problem. You are the reason why these numbers are going to be so staggering that I read off. It's you. You're complicit. You were a factor in this. They couldn't have pulled all this stuff off unless you dummies complied with this. Do not comply with unjust orders. Make these people force you. Make them have to tackle you to get you to put a mask on. Make them have to go home at night and cry because they think that they have made a huge error in taking this job at the grocery store where they have to tell people to wear masks. Good. You should. I hope you go home and cry yourself to sleep. You should. You should apologize to every single person you see for your role in this COVID catastrophe. COVID-induced poor in 2021 was 97 million people and growing. The government didn't accidentally have this response to a virus that slipped out of a wet market when nobody was watching. This was done intentionally. This was done on purpose. This was done to destroy America from the inside. Every country from the inside. But I'm talking about America because I'm here, and that's what the focus of this particular episode is going to be. Lockdowns doubled child poverty globally. And now we have the added benefit. Not only did it put a bunch of people into poverty, which you knew it was going to do, now we have the added benefit on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, of printing 80% of all dollars into existence since COVID. And what that does, and I'll tell you what that does, that inflates the money supply and it lowers the purchasing power of your currency. So you were poor to begin with. COVID came, reconfigured society, made you even poorer than you were. Then they came in, tinkered with your currency, expanded that to a rate where the dollar is worth far less than it was before COVID started. Inflation's through the roof. Go to the grocery store, try to get a shopping cart filled with stuff. You know, this is no secret. And so you got it from every direction. And this was very detrimental to the poor. The rich don't care. The rich are fine. The COVID didn't affect them. It didn't bother them. They had to make some adjustments. Maybe if they owned businesses, it threw a monkey wrench in things. But equities did really well. If you had stocks during COVID, you're balling. If you had Bitcoin during the beginning of COVID, you saw massive appreciations. Of course, in part due to people getting their money out of the fiat currency system once they saw how much money printing was happening. The people that got into Bitcoin immediately in the summer of 2020 were ahead of the curve, of course. They saw what was coming. We were talking about this, right? I left the Norcapulco. They told you. You better start buying some of this stuff. You better get yourself some Bitcoin before you can't. According to, I'm going to talk a little bit about some global aspects of this before I really zero in on America, even though I just said I was going to focus on America. But I do want to read this. According to the criminals at the World Bank, as of January 2021, which was just about 9 months into COVID, the World Bank said that the COVID situation pushed between 119 million and 124 million people into what they described as extreme poverty. I'm not even really positive what the differentiation is between poverty and extreme poverty. But when the World Bank is saying that, close to 125 million people, that's the population of, I don't know, I think Nigeria, Bangladesh, something like, that's a lot of people into extreme poverty. That was just as of January 2021. It just started then. If my guess is that number is considerably higher. I don't know where. It would be speculation on my part. But if it's 125 million plus, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because my guess is that the people that were pushed into extreme poverty were already in just regular poverty. Drug use, drug overdoses, and depression all up drastically during lockdowns. We know this. Everybody knows somebody. Everybody knows somebody that either didn't handle it well, the isolation got to them, the lack of a job, the uncertainty of a job got them. People that had been sober for a while fell off the wagon. People that needed that constant daily grind of keeping themselves busy so that they didn't have free time, because when they had free time in the past, they used to drink a lot, or maybe they were doing some other things that they knew were self-destructive, and now they had free time, and now they might have even got paid to have free time, and it was Netflix and chill while this virus sweeps the world, and next thing you know, you're picking up a bag from a guy that you used to know, and then and by the way, what's changed since maybe you were dabbling in the past, and then you got sober, and now this thing is sort of tugging at your sobriety. You know what changed? Fentanyl. So now you get to play let's make a deal every time you buy something from your guy. What's behind door number 3? Sorry, it's dead in your bathtub from an overdose. An actual overdose, not a Danny Castellero style, but you know what I mean. This happened. they launched something that they called anti-COVID measures. And like most naming, this was a misnomer. What it really means is intentional attacks against the general public. Anti-COVID measures. That COVID was created. It was meant to be this thing. It was going to be used to as a massive behavior modification program that was going to culminate in a remaking of society. It didn't actually wind up going that way because the people implementing the plan are incompetent retards that aren't able to figure out how to get you to vaccinate yourself without offering you cheeseburgers and lottery tickets and Talladega laps. So it was probably never going to work because you have stupid politicians in charge of making sure that it happened. But when they talk about anti-COVID measures directed against the general public, this was poverty. And this is a feature, not a bug. This is what they wanted. This is the reason why the anti-COVID measures that had to do with shutting down the small mom and pop lumber store down the street, but while leaving Home Depot wide open and everyone can go in there because apparently the virus doesn't congregate there, or there's more air in Home Depot or whatever. I don't know. But this was what was sold to you as anti-COVID measures, but really it was anti-business, anti-small and medium-sized business measures, and it was anti-humanity, right? And this was designed that way because you got a waiver if you were a big company, you know, or you got made whole on the back end by some fund, or you had the government come in and agree to some sort of tax abatement or whatever it was. I mean, they if you were politically connected because you were running Walmart or Amazon or something like that, you had a much different COVID experience than everybody else. That's a fact. It broke many people permanently, like a generation of Karens out there calling the police because there's too many cars in the parking lot or the driveway of your neighbor's house for Thanksgiving. And it broke people. And they're never going to be fixed. This is the Yuri Bezmenov component, the 6 weeks of crisis. And then the normalization. Well, the normalization for these people is that we always wore masks in our car by ourselves. We always went one direction down the grocery store aisle. We've always been at war with Eurasia. I mean, this is it. This is watching a psychological program in real life. And you don't even have to put a lab coat on. Like, like the white lab coat, the one that Peter Hotez wears, even when he's at home doing Zoom interviews to make it appear that he has a sense of authority. You don't have to put on the white lab coat and walk around the grocery store or to witness this behavior. But you see it. And you see that there are some people that are just gone and they're never coming back. That's what Yuri said. I could shower them with authentic information. It won't do anything. Okay. So here's the bigger problem to all of this. I mean, I've listed off a couple problems. We're about to go down a list of even more. But this is the biggest of the problems. Because, when you go through a situation like we did with COVID, you try to get some sort of benefits and positives out of it on the other end. You say, well, at least the next time around, we won't make the same mistakes on this, that, and the other, right? Well, I have bad news. Because the next time around, the World Health Organization is in charge, not your government, not your state government or your national government. It's not going to matter. The World Health Organization has maneuvered itself to a supranational state, which means it is above nation states. That's legislation that was signed over the last 18 months. So that's happening, and they will be in charge the next time there's a global pandemic. And let's be clear, there's going to be another global pandemic that they're going to create. They've told you. Bill Gates just said, well, this next time around, that'll get their attention. They know it's going to happen. It's scheduled. I mean, if you were to go into the break room at the United Nations where all these assholes are hanging out, and there's a calendar up there on the wall, I bet you could flip forward a couple months, maybe a couple years, you'd find where it's scheduled on there. Releasing the hantavirus on June 31st. There isn't a June 31st. climate lockdowns. Here's the thing. Climate lockdowns are coming. And COVID-19, that whole lockdown component was they're going to look back at that as a dress rehearsal for the climate lockdowns. They're going to look back and say, well, this is what we did right and this is what we did wrong. They always do this. They role play it. And when it comes to the climate change lockdowns that we will get in the future, my assumption, based on watching how these people operate, is that sometime between now and then, there will be a role-playing exercise, like an Event 201 situation, in which they will role-play an event in which climate has created the situation where we have to do a lockdown. And then they'll role play that out and show you how it'll work. And then that'll have the World Health Organization, because climate change is now a threat. Climate change now falls under this pandemic preparedness treaty. So what we're going to have is, it might not be necessarily that they do roll out the hantavirus pandemic. It might just be a climate change pandemic. It doesn't matter because it falls under the same category. So it's something to look up. And these climate lockdowns are being dreamed up right now and in Davos when they get together. So we've got that. And of course, the digital ID is on the drawing board as well for that. So these are sort of the reality of where we're going. And so you've got that to look forward to. And, you know, as a nation, though, as the United States, and as the United States goes, a lot of the world follows, unfortunately. I'm sorry for that. For the rest of you listening internationally, we're sorry that you guys have to follow our lead as we run headlong right off of a cliff. But I think that's because you're tied to our US dollar and you're sort of forced to follow us in some regards. But we are making a catastrophic hard push into the electric vehicle industry, you might have noticed. And the infrastructure just isn't ready for it. It's not ready for it here in America. My guess is it's not ready. You're not ready for it in Europe if you're listening there. In Canada, you guys are, you know, you got 30 million people spread across a nation that's just about the same size as America. You've got 1/12 the number of people. I don't know how they implement that across all of Canada, but your infrastructure probably isn't ready for it either. And but that's coming. That's the future that they want. They want you into a technology that isn't ready for prime time, that they control, and that everything is going to go wrong with it, of course. So keep that in mind. That's just a sort of on the horizon. Unemployment. We're going to get into this in a second here, but unemployment is set to explode in the United States with these minimum wage hikes, plus sort of the added factor of robots. Minimum wage hikes plus robots equals massive unemployment. Let's just put it that way. Hey, I've got a suggestion, or at least I'm going to throw this into the mix. I'm early, right? We're early on this one. We're in first couple months of the year, but I'm going to make a prediction. It's not a real catastrophic one like I normally do. This is a fun one. I'm going to make a prediction that I can tell you right now what the 2024 word of the year is going to be. Are you ready for it? Think of what you, in your mind, we'll play this game at home or if you're driving around. Think, what would the 2024 word of the year be to you up to this point? And this is obviously subject to debate. My assumption is that the 2024 word of the year is going to be squatters. That sound reasonable? Squatters. I never thought I would talk about squatters. And I worked in real estate for 25 years, man. And you've had to deal with them from time to time. And they're a real pain in the ass to get out, by the way. They're like ticks. They are human ticks. They get in there and they start sucking the blood out of you. And if you try to pull them out in the incorrect way, they wind up staying longer, right? But the rest of the world is getting a taste of what we in the real estate industry have had to deal with for a long time. And that is people moving into houses that they don't own and then refusing to leave. And then you go, oh, well, I'll just call the police and we'll get to the bottom of this. Then you will find out how the scales of justice have been tilted in a very unreasonable way, and how the squatters seem to have all of the power. And speaking of the scales of justice being tilted in an unreasonable way, the legal system here in the United States is a mess. If you didn't notice, we have Fani Willis. I'm just talking about the Trump derangement syndrome judges. We have Fani Willis, who, I'm telling you, they're not sending the best and brightest, right? We've got Jack Smith, who looks like a guy who tried to sell you fentanyl in an alley. Letitia James, she's Grimace from McDonald's. Let's just be honest. And the judge in Goron, the guy who's taking shirtless selfies of himself at the gym, who hates Trump so much, even though his wife is definitely connected to this. So our justice system is a mess. It's all happening, as Alex Jones says. But let's do this. Let's pivot. I want to talk about my favorite punching bag, and it's the state of California. And the reason why I love this so much is because it is the gift that keeps on giving. Just when you think you've mentioned the dumbest thing that could ever come out of California, they go and outdo themselves. And as somebody that lived in California, grew up there, born there, lived there for over 30 years, and I don't live there now, and I haven't lived there, and I will never live there again. I am allowed to say whatever I want about the state of California. For as long as I lived there, I saw it when it was amazing, and I see it now when it's a dumpster fire, and I know the difference, and I'm going to call it out. So let's talk about this. Now, the state of California is committed to killing itself slowly. I mean, that is the only explanation for this. It says that it has a $38 billion budget deficit, which would be a lot, of course. But according to Legislative Analysis, latest projections, that's a company, that number should be doubled. They show California's budget deficit. This is the budget deficit. This isn't their debt. This is just year over year how much more they're spending than they take in. California says, well, our budget debt, we're going to spend about $38 billion more than what we take in this year. And what Legislative Analysis says is, no, that number's $73 billion. You guys shouldn't be in charge of math. If you're $38 billion in the hole this year, you shouldn't be in charge of giving us the numbers, because you're clearly bad at math and bad at numbers and budgeting and all that stuff. So when the guy that comes out and says, we're only $38 billion in debt this year for this round, I'm not going to take that guy's word for it, because if you're $38 billion in debt, you're probably more in debt than that. And of course, when they dug into it, it was twice as much, almost literally twice as much. So this year, California is going to spend $73,000 million more than they take in. And you know what their priority is? Putting third bathrooms in all schools throughout California, so that the 0.7% of the population that identifies as trans, which includes the entire population, not just students, I'm sure that number is even smaller, at least they'll have third bathrooms. And they're definitely not going to get the shit kicked out of them in those third bathrooms where the door can be closed behind them, right? That's never going to happen. Oh my God, these people. And by the way, when California admits that when they go on record and admit that they have a $38 billion budget deficit, well, I just want you to understand that when they did the math prior to the year that they came in, according to them, $38,000 million over budget, they actually did their projections were, it's just California math, Common Core math. They said, oh, don't worry, everybody. We're actually going to be $97 billion ahead. We're going to make $97 billion. Everyone went, oh, I'll believe that when I see it, because Gavin Newsom is a pathological liar and may or may not be a serial killer. He comes out and says, no. We're going to be $97 billion up this year. based on our budgets. They were $73 billion under. That's quite a swing. I mean, that is quite a swing. That is a $170 billion difference, California. How could you be that far off? If your tax accountant was that far off on doing your taxes, would you fire him or not? If your CFO of your company was like, goes to Wall Street and was like, this year, we're going to have the most profitable year ever. We're going to make $97 billion this year. This is what we're projecting to our shareholders. And then the year ends and not only did you not make $97 billion, but you instead also lost $73 billion. Would you have a job? Would you have a job in any capacity? Would you be sweeping up the floors there? No, probably not. But this is California, baby. They just make up numbers, right? So let's continue since we're talking about made up numbers with California. The federal minimum wage in the United States of America currently, as of 2024, is $7.25 an hour. That's what the federal minimum wage is. The anarchist in me says there should be no minimum wage at all. People should work for whatever they're willing to take. But whatever, we have a federal minimum wage, and that's just the fact. California has had a minimum wage for a long time that nobody talks about. The minimum wage in California is not $7.25 an hour. It's $16 an hour. Did you know that? They didn't go and tell you that, right? It's been $16 an hour for a while. So if you're a business that has retail stores that sells, you've got remedial stuff, you don't really need to pay somebody too much money, right? You're getting a service that is pretty homogenous, that you can go out and get anybody to sweep up the parking lot, right? It's not a specialized skill. You want to pay that person a minimum wage because they're doing the minimum amount of work. It's a low skilled job that doesn't require any specialization. That's just the nature of the beast, man. Sorry to break it to you, but your skill set is worth basically the minimum wage. Everywhere else in the country, it's $7.25. In California, it's $16. So you already have to deal with that. But not content with ruining the economy enough, California has decided that starting April 1st, it has now gone into effect, the California fast food minimum wage, working at fast food at a restaurant, McDonald's, Wendy's, Carl's Jr., wherever. The fast food minimum wage is now $20 an hour. So at $20 an hour, we go to robots. Just so you know. My prediction, and this is a prediction, but it's a logical conclusion based on how how markets work and how human psychology works, if we can even measure that anymore. But my prediction is that California is going to lose a ton of jobs, and large chain restaurants will either leave the state entirely or they will never expand into California. And this will put downward pressure on commercial real estate prices as well. Because as all of these fast food restaurants whose business model maybe worked at $16 an hour, it was California minimum wage, so they were already at 16, finding a way to make that Big Mac affordable, trying to do that. But now, at an extra $4, that changes things. But speaking of fast food, the cost of running a McDonald's in California, just the yearly cost of running a McDonald's, and if you're somebody that is a franchise owner of a McDonald's in California, this new minimum wage from 16 to 20 just increased your costs at each one of the McDonald's that you own by $250,000 a year. You're now paying $20,000 a month more because of this new law. So at some point you have to make a calculation. You got all these stores. You take a look at this. You go, we're either going to robots or we're getting the fuck out of here. Those are our two choices. We're not staying with this. This is unsustainable. This isn't going to work. By the way, Gavin Newsom's going to be the governor, if he's not the president. He's going to be the governor until he becomes the president, right? So he's probably going to be the governor for the next 4 years. So this isn't changing in 4 years. So if you're sitting at the board of direct, you're having your shareholder meeting and you're sort of a small chain, and you, by the way, this has to do with you have to have like 60 or more stores nationwide, which is easy to do. I mean, there's a lot of fast food restaurants qualify for this. Pizza Hut and Round Table Pizza have announced that they have laid off 1,300 delivery drivers. This is just the beginning. This is just starting. This is no jobs equals no tax revenue. And California has already shown you that they're running at a $73 billion deficit this year because they are bad at managing money. So, I mean, what do you think? You can see how everything is interconnected. All of these fast food chains decide we're leaving California. They fire everybody that works there. Everybody that had a job that was collecting money and paying taxes on it no longer collects money, no longer pays taxes. Instead, they now collect unemployment. So this is like a double negative. It's a quadruple negative. It's like everything about it is negative. I'm not even sure I understand the logic as to what he's trying to do here. Are you trying to protect small mom and pop fast food restaurants in California that have, by giving them a competitive advantage where they only have to pay? Yeah, I mean, they only have to pay $16 an hour because they don't technically have enough stores to qualify to push them into the $20 an hour, and you arbitrage and make this, you make your profits off the $4. I mean, this whole thing sounds like really poorly thought out to me. But of course, it's California. Why wouldn't it be? This, by the way, San Francisco Board of Supervisors alumni, Gavin Newsom. So his ideas are diabolical and retarded. But by the way, I've just been talking about how much California is in debt on a year-over-year basis. That they thought they were going to only, they thought they were going to make $97 billion. Then they thought, well, we'll only lose 38, and then it really was $73 billion that they lost. That's just for the year. California has $1.6 trillion in debt, with liabilities exceeding assets by $222 billion. So they're bankrupt. When your liabilities exceed your assets by $222 billion, you're bankrupt. California's bankrupt. 6th largest economy in the world. If California was its own state, it'd be bigger than most of these other fucking countries in Europe and everything. Congratulations. All that is true with that revenue, and yet your liabilities exceed your assets by $222 billion. How are you screwing this up? How? This seems like all you have to do is get out of the way. California prints money. At least it used to. By the way, this $1.6 trillion of debt, estimates have them closer to $2 trillion now. That's where the numbers really are. So, State Farm insurance company will not renew insurance policies on 42,000 different businesses and 30,000 homes in California. Do you know why? They are tired of dealing with the state of California. And who can blame them? 573,019 people, a very specific number, are said to have left California last year. 573,000 people? That's a lot. California led the United States in unemployment at 5.7% versus the 4.1% national average. Now, none of these numbers should be believed. Unemployment rates are the easiest number in the world to fake. But even if you go off of their fake numbers, they pale in comparison to the national. But again, nobody should be surprised, of course. And as a byproduct of that, 50% of all of the homeless people in the United States live in California. Oh, but don't worry, everybody. Everything's fine in Oakland. In case you hadn't noticed, everything is just fine in Oakland. You know how you can tell everything is fine in Oakland? And by fine, I mean totally fucked. In-N-Out Burger is leaving Oakland. In-N-Out Burger doesn't leave anywhere. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the In-N-Out Burger chain, it's a West Coast chain. It's now making its way, it just hit here in Denver a couple years ago. When it came to Denver, the first when they opened the first 4 stores here in Denver, it was all over the news. It was a big deal for In-N-Out Burger. You're going to laugh. The drive-through line to get in the first day was 12 hours. Okay. So In-N-Out Burger never goes out of business. They left Oakland. They got tired of dealing with Oakland. They got tired of dealing with the people. Taco Bell, same thing. They said, we are closing the dining rooms to our restaurants. It is going to be drive-through only, and we're going cash-free because we can't trust you people to come into the store. You can't behave yourself. Turns into world star hip hop video fights in Taco Bell in Oakland. So we're done. Too many robberies at the drive-thru, too much nonsense. But Oakland's airport, relax everybody. Oakland's airport has figured it out. They have figured out a solution to this. Now, you understand that there are multiple airports in the Bay Area. There's SFO. There's one that you fly into San Francisco, and that one's a bitch because it's always foggy. And then there's Oakland. And you can fly into the Oakland airport, but nobody really wants to go to Oakland because it's kind of scary, right? So in Oakland Airport knows this. So they have a solution to this problem, the rampant crime and all of this. In order to convince people to come to Oakland, they have decided they are going to trick everybody. They're going to change the name of the airport, and they're going to remove the word Oakland from it. They're going to call it the San Francisco Bay Airport, even though it's not San Francisco. It's Oakland. And they're changing the name and removing Oakland because they want to trick you into coming to Oakland, because if you know that you're going to Oakland, you won't go. They lost the Raiders. They're losing the Oakland A's baseball team. They've lost In-N-Out Burger. It's time to just admit that you're done. You're done with Oakland. But again, they're not the only ones in the Bay Area with dumb ideas. Have you seen what is going on in San Francisco at the BART train, the Bay Area Rapid Transit? That's the public transportation. Have you seen this? I'm going to tell you what's going on there, and then you're going to think that I'm lying to you because there's no way that anything this dumb is going to happen. And then you're going to go to your computer and you're going to look it up to fact check me to prove that I'm just talking out of my ass. And you're going to see this video and you're going to go, oh my God, it's worse than I thought. Are you ready for it? Because here it comes. And I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I'm not this funny. San Francisco has unveiled what they call intervention cards. And intervention cards are like business cards. There's 2 different types. And what you're supposed to do with this card, you go to the person when you buy your ticket, you ask, may I have an intervention card? May I have several intervention cards? And the intervention cards say either one of 2 things. Help, I'm being assaulted, or I see that you're being assaulted and I'm going to help you. This is for when you are being assaulted on the BART train or on the platform, maybe thrown in front of a train, or somebody is urinating on you while you wait for a train, or somebody's picking your pocket, or somebody's having some sort of manic episode or whatever. Or maybe they've got a gun and they're trying to rob you, or a knife to your wife's throat or something like this. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to give an intervention card to the person standing next to you that says, hello, fine sir. I am in desperate need of help. I am currently being mugged and will probably be murdered in the next 60 seconds. Instead of calling the police, will you give me a hug? Will you please help me? And the flip side to this card is if you see somebody else getting violently assaulted, in the middle of that assault, you're supposed to give them the card that says, I got you. And on the card, it says, I got you. It says, one of the cards says, you got me? ? Someone is harassing me right now. Can you stand with me while this is happening? ? Then it gives contact info for the BART police to, I guess, collect your corpse. I'm not really sure how it all works out. When you're getting assaulted on the Bay Area Rapid Transit, the solution isn't to call the police. Not that they would show up. They've been totally defunded. Not to call the BART police. It's to hand a business card before you lose consciousness. It's to hand a business card to the poor, scared bastard next to you that is hoping that the knife doesn't get turned on them next. And it says, hi, you got me? ? No, I don't got you. I don't got you. You're on your own on this one, pal. Sorry, you're going to have to bleed to death in this subway car. I have to get to work. I mean, we are a clown world of a country. I wish I was making this up. Like I said, I cannot. San Francisco, in a follow-up to this, because it's like they're having a contest to see who can come up with the dumbest ideas possible. San Francisco wants people to be able to sue grocery stores for not giving 6 months notice before they pack up their grocery stores and move out of town. They want, and follow me on this logic, and feel free to divert your car into a tree if you can't follow this, because neither can I. Grocery stores don't want to be in San Francisco anymore because they're getting robbed relentlessly, right? It's just a shit show. They have decided, we're leaving. We can't make money. Grocery stores have thin margins to begin with. They account for a certain amount of shrinkage, but not when it's institutionalized, right? So they know that people are going to steal things, but in the Chesa Bowden $950 and below world in San Francisco, everything's for sale. So the grocery stores are saying, this doesn't fit with our business model. You people are deranged lunatics. This city is a shithole. We're leaving. What San Francisco said is, no. Before you leave, we want our residents to be able to sue you unless you give them 6 months notice before you leave our shithole city. I mean, the whole thing, but gas-powered leaf blowers are the priority, right? You got me? ? That should be the name of this episode. I swear to God. But listen, crime pays in Democrat cities, and I'm no Republican. I say it all the time, but I do know how to read. I do know how to look at a map. I do know which cities are controlled by Democrat governors, and or which states are controlled by Democrat governors, and which cities are controlled by Democratic mayors. They print this stuff. It's available. You can find it if you'd like. The conviction rate in Democrat-controlled cities is less than 5 out of 100 arrests. Let that sink in. That means that even if you wanted a policy in these Democratic cities of getting tough on crime and going out there and actually arresting these people that are doing the crazy things in your city, that is nowhere near enough. Because when they get arrested, only 5 out of 100 get convicted. The other 95 just leave. They drop charges against them. They just say, oh, there's been a huge mistake and we're not prosecuting you. There's prosecutors in Democrat-run shitholes that don't even know how to prosecute crime anymore. They've had no practice doing it. From 2018 to 2023, conviction rates in Democrat cities have dropped. The rate in which you convict people has magically dropped by 58%. Why? Why is that? If I didn't know any better, I'd think you didn't want to convict people. Well, let's see. What does the FBI have to say about this? Maybe we can get some good statistics out of the FBI. Well, guess what? The FBI doesn't have to report actual crime figures until 2025 due to the Democrats changing the policies so that they could hide their massive failures. They've changed the policies for the FBI so that the FBI doesn't have to report their crime statistics. Actually, they can't report their crime statistics until 2025. Gee, I wonder why that would be. Is that to hide all of your incompetence? Make it so that they can't report on it until it's too late and then you can Rumsfeld it? I mean, come on. Did you know that they held a Black Mayors Coalition on Crime in Memphis, Tennessee? They can't hide it any longer. They had to get together and have a meeting, get their story straight on what they're going to say. Because a lot of black mayors out there, their cities are run like shit, and it's becoming obvious that there's a problem. In St. Louis, here's some cold hard facts for you about race, okay? America's has a very unusual relationship with race. We're simultaneously the most racist people around, and then when it suits us, we don't want to talk about race at all, right? Well, you can't hide this. In St. Louis, 92% of homicide suspects and 86% of homicide victims were black. What are we going to do about that? We're going to pretend like that's not an issue? St. Louis, you guys are going to pretend like that's not an issue? You're going to get your Black Mayors Coalition on Crime together in some hotel room in Memphis, Tennessee, and get to the bottom of this and figure this out? You have a huge problem. Oh, by the way, 84% of the 92% of the homicide suspects that were black, 84% of them were repeat offenders. So what's going on here? These are homicide suspects. I'm not talking about armed robbery. I'm not talking about car theft. I'm talking about people that are murdering other people. They're repeat offenders. 84% of the people that are committing the murders are repeat offenders. So repeat from what? From a previous murder that you let them out of prison for another armed robbery? I mean, I get it. You can't just lock people up forever. Meanwhile, in Republicanville, the FBI will show up at your house over Facebook posts, right? So what are we doing? Let's talk about Baltimore. We often do. 2/3 of the city is black. 1/4 of the city is white, but the mayor has been black since 1987. They let one honky got in there for like a while, for a couple years, but for the most part, it's been dark in the mayor's office of Baltimore since 1987. Coming up on almost 40 years of that. And what do you have to show for that? You say, well, we want one of our own in there. We've got such a huge percentage of black residents here in Baltimore, in the city of Baltimore, and we want representation and we want black mayors and everything. That's fine. I understand that. I don't even fault you for that. But can you get some mayors in there that don't go to prison? Because all the Baltimore mayors wind up in prison. You know that, right? They keep getting arrested. They've been forced to retire. You might have seen Mayor DEI, Brandon Scott. Have you seen him, the mayor of Baltimore, who after the bridge, he's 40 years old. He says I mean, you want to talk about an imposter. Take a look at that guy. That guy's an imposter. He thinks that when white people say DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's code for the N-word. That's what he said. That's what he said. Always the victim, right? Always the victim. Don't you guys ever get tired of singing that same old song? You ever going to take any responsibility for your own actions and behavior? Or are you just going to elect mayors that come to your defense and just say, oh, it's got to be Whitey. Whitey's doing this. Whitey's oppressing you. Whitey gave you the 5th highest dollar per student funding for your public schools, and you have 114 schools in which nobody can read or write or do math. So Baltimore, you're going to have to take blame for this on your own. Baltimore district has 3 cops for 61,000 people. After $22 million was cut from the police funds, now 911 calls go to voicemail instead. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. 3 cops for 61,000 people. And when you call 911, they just send you to the voicemail. They'll get it when they get it. One of the most violent cities in the United States, 98.6th percentile in terms of violent crime in the United States, Baltimore City, 98.6th percentile. You can't do much bigger than, you cannot be more violent than that. 2.7 times the US average. Crime rate has increased in Baltimore City by 95% since 2021 alone. Boy, if I were to put on my tinfoil sombrero and pontificate about this for a minute, I would have to come to the conclusion that they are making this happen. It's the only explanation for it. How do you have a 95% rise in crime in 3 years? Unless you tell the people, we're just not enforcing laws anymore. We fired all the police. There aren't going to be any cops anywhere. Nobody that goes through our school system is qualified to work at a fast food restaurant. Not that the fast food restaurants are going to even be around for much longer because the robots are coming. Oh, and by the way, if you decide that you're going to embark on a life of crime, we're not even going to arrest you. But people calling this out, but white people calling this out is code word for the N-word. That doesn't work with me. You're going to have to come up with a different strategy than trying to say that I'm a racist. I mean, nobody calls me a honky but me. And I do it daily. I'll have you know. School statistics in Baltimore, 3rd grade through 8th grade, 93% failure in math. 23 schools with 0 students that passed. That's 2,000 kids. 20 schools with between 1 or 2 students in the entire school that was proficient. Not excellent. Not excellent. met the bare minimum for proficiency in either math or reading. There were 23 entire schools in which there wasn't a single kid. And then there were 20 schools in which they found one or two kids. Annual budget, Baltimore schools, $1.6 billion. Plus, they got $800 million in free COVID relief. They're the worst performing schools. But of course, the head of the school got paid $445,000 in salary last year. Let me ask you, did you make $445,000 in salary last year? Well, maybe you should be the head of the Baltimore School District, but of course you'd have to be a black lesbian for that. But I know you're all very surprised. Let's check in on the Windy City. Hint, it's not going well. Mayor Brandon Johnson is Lori Lightfoot, but just with a smaller dick, I think. And he's a total diversity hire, keeping in a long tradition of Chicago mayors that are diversity hires. I mean, he's a clown, but not the funny kind of clown. He's the uncomfortable kind of clown that you look at and you go, I wonder what's going on in this guy's head. You want to talk about imposter syndrome. I bet you when Brandon Johnson stands in front of that microphone as the mayor of Chicago, what's going through his head is, I cannot believe that I'm the mayor of Chicago. Well, I want you to know something, Brandon. Nobody else can believe it either. You're unqualified for this job. Everybody knows it. Everybody's laughing at you. The reason why you feel like an imposter is because you are. You shouldn't be the mayor of Chicago. Lori Lightfoot shouldn't have been the mayor of Chicago. You people are deeply flawed. Your ideas are criminally stupid. You're getting people killed. You have to be taken out of office. You have to be removed. He to try to excuse his failings with the teachers union. People call him slow. They call him slow. He's a slow talker. He's a slow thinker. He's dumb. He's really dumb. And I'm sorry, I might have committed a microaggression against him. But I just want you to know that under Mayor Johnson, 34,000 illegals have been brought in. And yes, they are illegal. When they illegally sneak into the border, you can be like, they're human beings. They have a right to... Of course, they're human beings. I don't deny that at all. But when you cross over the border, you technically become illegal. So it is the correct term for describing them. And 34,000 of them have been brought to Chicago for a vacation, I guess. I don't know. A sightseeing visit. He is spending $300 million on the migrants, but he refuses to disclose how it's being spent. He just won't talk. He says he's not going to talk about it. There are 27 shelters that are open in Chicago. They're each getting $344,000 a week. That works out to $17 million a year. Because it's a sanctuary city. That's what the Windy City of Chicago is dealing with. They had a 5-year-old boy just die in the shelter, but mistakes were made. Who cares, right? They have given $206 million to a company called Favorite Healthcare to get to the bottom of this problem happening in Chicago. But wouldn't you know it? It's an out-of-state company in Kansas. They can't even keep it in the state. The state can't take care of the state by financing and paying for companies within the state to help them out with the problem inside their own state. They have to outsource it to other states. $45 million to a company called Equitable Social Solutions. Want to guess where that's based? Not Chicago, Kentucky. They finally did. Well, one thing you can't really pack up and move is a hotel. The Inn in Chicago has 1,500 beds. They're using them. Brandon Johnson has done such a bad job. I mean, Lori Lightfoot looked like a troll. She was a cartoon character, just a real gift, if I'm being honest. And Brandon Johnson doesn't have the Lori Lightfoot appeal, but he does have a 26% approval rating, and that is because even his people hate him now. I mean, the rest of us always were mocking him relentlessly. By the way, I have no dog in this fight. I don't live in Chicago. I haven't been to Chicago in many, many years. I don't give a fuck what happens in Chicago, if I'm being totally honest. That's Brandon Johnson's problem. And all you people that live in Chicago and have to deal with this, I'm sorry for you. I really, really am. To my man Benoit out there running his tattoo parlor, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to live through this, man. You're smart, reasonable, rational person trying to run a business, and you have to deal with this, I can't even imagine what you're going through. Shout out to Ben. We've hung out before. They shut down selective enrollment schools. See, selective enrollment schools were doing really well in Chicago, and they were getting these great scores, and because they were bringing in these kids, and these kids were really doing a great job. Chicago had to get rid of that. You know why? Because these schools are showing them up. Instead of saying, look how proud we are of these selective enrollment schools for doing well, their response to it was, you're making us look bad. You're making all these non-selective enrollment schools look terrible. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut you down. Not we're going to take this model that's working really well for selective enrollment schools and use it to try and fix these other schools that are failing miserably. No. That's not the line of thinking that they took. Their line of thinking was, oh, you're doing a great job with that school. Time to shut it down. That's what they did. Because it's Chicago. Because it's Brandon Johnson. Because he's fucking retarded. I mean, maybe literally. I want you to understand what Chicago is proposing. And then you tell me, right? You tell me if this is a good idea or not. Again, I'm not kidding. I feel like I have to run this disclaimer all the time before I tell you a dumb idea, because you're going to go, you're just being hyperbolic on this. Oh, I wish. Much like the San Francisco, these leftists, what they notice is that at some point the businesses leave. And the businesses that are in charge of like providing food, like grocery stores, they start to leave. And that's a real problem. So in San Francisco, I just mentioned that they said that they want to give the public, the general public, the right to sue grocery stores that don't give at least 6 months advance notice before they pack up and leave. In Chicago, what they want to do is they want to create state-run grocery stores. And no, I'm not kidding. Municipalities owned grocery stores. And you want to know why? Because of food equality. They want food equality, everybody. They're mad that there's food equality. You better hope that there's just food, Chicago. You better be food equality. Oh yeah, you want that now. At some point you're gonna be praying for just food. The reason why is that all the other grocery stores have left. You know why? Because they keep getting robbed. Same problem they're having in San Francisco, they're having in Chicago. And again, great mayor come together and they say, well, look, I think what will solve the problem of 6 grocery stores and 4 Walmarts leaving within the last 18 months is that what we're going to do, we're so good at governing that people are leaving our states. Let's get into the most complicated and detail-oriented business that we can possibly find. Let's run grocery stores that have razor-thin profit margins and go out of business all the time, because you have to have the proper economies of scale to get them big enough so that Ron Burkle and Yucaipa will come up and do a merger with you, right? Okay? I mean, that's how the supermarket industry works. You're either Ron Burkle, who's a multi-billionaire running Yucaipa, doing these supermarket conglomerates and putting them together, or you're out of business. But I'll tell you what, you're definitely not. You're not the city of Chicago getting into the grocery store industry. You do that and everybody will, you'll go out of business immediately. That's just goes without saying. But what makes you think that the problems plaguing the other grocery stores isn't going to happen to you? They were getting looted like crazy. You think your government store's not going to get looted? What are you going to sell there? Are you going to undercut all of the other? Are you going to sell $5 milk for $4? You're going to do that? Are you going to put your thumb on the scale? At the invisible hand of marketplaces, and Adam Smith is not liking this. I'll tell you right now. But this is the state of America right now. This is it. This is what we're having actual conversations about in cities like San Francisco and Chicago. We're going to wrap up with Massachusetts because they go full retard. I just don't know what to tell you. They are. We'll wrap up with this. These are. I could go on and on and on, and I don't want to do that because I want to keep it as high and tight as possible. But I have to mention Massachusetts. We'll end with this. $75 million per month is being spent on illegal aliens. I just have to believe that there's a better use of money than that. Hotel rooms. This is what you get if you are an illegal alien in the state of Massachusetts. Are you ready? Are you ready to be infuriated? Well, you're going to be. Hotel rooms. They have budgeted $150 per day times 30 days. This is $4,500 per month per family for a hotel room. Massachusetts is paying this. My guess is that you could rent a place for less than $4,500 a month, but that's what they're doing for hotels. Meals. Can't have these illegal immigrants sneaking into your country and not feeding them, but they've accounted for that. Don't worry about that. $64 a day times 30 days equals $1,920. Let's round up. Let's just make it an even $2,000. So $4,500 a month for hotel rooms and $2,000 a month for food. Do you get that? Does the government ever give you? When was the last time the state of Massachusetts sent you a check for $2,000 for food? How about $4,500 for hotel rooms? Have you ever gotten that? No? Have you tried sneaking across the southern border and declaring yourself an illegal alien? You should, because not only that, you'll also get free medical and free dental. Includes condoms. Probably not the worst idea, right? Here's where it gets annoying. Here's where it's the $4,500 wasn't annoying enough. Not till you hear this. I want you to understand, and I don't even really know exactly why they would need this, but this is a service that is being offered to the illegal aliens in Massachusetts that have come across the southern border. They have access to, I'm not making this up, I promise you, but they have access to same-day dry cleaning with free pickup and delivery. Free dry cleaning. Should have held out for free dry cleaning in California, guys. You guys had no idea. And they get housekeeping twice a week. Does the state send them? I know. Special diet for Ramadan, of course. We're going to bend over backwards. Free clothing, winter coats, gloves, shoes, bags, car seats, diapers, toys, playrooms, formula, toiletries, baby bottles, wipes, cribs. All free. Free cell phones, free tablets, free chargers, and preloaded debit cards. That's Massachusetts, right? So we've done a lot. We've talked about a lot. The wheels are falling off. It as a writer, it's an embarrassment of riches. The types of topics that I get to follow, but it's not just Massachusetts. It's the entire country's gone full retard. You never go full retard. Hey, if you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. The audiobook. Go get the audiobook for The Octopus of Global Control. You can find me at macroaggressions.io. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon.